We're going to interrupt your meal at this moment to introduce you to a very special guest. We've got a running theme here tonight of visitors from Calgary. And some of these Calgarian visitors are actually native Calgarians, which are rare creatures indeed. And one of the ones we're going to introduce you tonight is a native Calgarian who is a political economist and has spent many years working with that noble organization, Médecins Sans Frontières. And he returned back to his native Calgary specifically to work with Light Up the World. He's the chairman of the board of Light Up the World. And to tell us a bit about this remarkable organization, please welcome Mr. Michael Fark.
Thank you very much for that very kind introduction. I'm not sure I can live up to the full expectation of the bar that you've raised, but I'll do my best. I am the chairman of the board of directors for Light Up the World. It's been an absolute pleasure to be associated with this organization. I moved back to Calgary specifically to work with them middle of last year, and have been with them since that time, first as the executive director, and now in my current role as the chairman of the board of directors. So some of you might be asking what exactly Light Up the World is and how it relates to the Light Up Papua New Guinea project. So Light Up the World is a small but vibrant development organization. And what we do is we specialize in the combination of renewable energy and high efficiency lighting. And we use those tools to promote development for communities in developing countries who don't have access to these essential tools for development. And for the last few years, we've been working very closely with the Goddard family, and we're the implementing partner for the Captain Nicola Goddard project in Papua New Guinea. And we're very pleased to be associated with the Goddards and this very worthwhile project. That's sort of the brief introduction as to who we are. We work in various countries around the world. We work at both the community level and the household level. I guess the easiest way to start to have a look is, this is one of my favorite pictures. This is what we call the world at night. And this shows the global perspective of where global energy services actually lie. And you can see there's quite a heavy concentration in North America. You might even be able to spot a few lights up there that represent PEI. And then if you come all the way across to the other side of the map, just north of Australia there, you'll see what should be, or you would see, Papua New Guinea if there were actually any lights there to be seen. Unfortunately, Papua New Guinea is one of those countries that doesn't really enjoy much in the way of national infrastructure. And as a result of that, the vast majority of the population lives without access to things as simple as what we would call electricity and lighting. And the importance of lighting can't be understated. This is just a brief look at what most people use in absence of electrified light is kerosene or candles. So they're burning a fossil fuel within a confined space, and that has profound impact on both their health, their opportunities for education, and for economic advancement. So if you look at what the impact of replacing something like that is, a very simple, very basic step of replacing kerosene and candles with renewable energy and electric light, it has a very profound effect. It reduces considerably the amount of organic and inorganic toxins that are experienced in the homes. This has an enormous impact on the health and well-being of families, men, women, children of all ages. On the environment, replacing kerosene with electric light, as you can see, reduces 130 kilograms of CO2 from the atmosphere every year. It equals 244 million tons of CO2 each year globally. It has an enormous impact. Education, what you're doing is you're providing a better quality of light. It provides the opportunity for children to actually have light to study with at night. Papua New Guinea, being very close to the equator, is dark for pretty much 12 hours a day, year-round. So children and everybody in the household is expected to participate in the income-generating activities. They work in the fields, they participate in the all aspects of the community during the day. It doesn't leave a great deal of opportunity in the night for them to participate in educational activities. By providing them with a functional light in the evening, it obviously has a profound effect on their ability to study. which has obviously big impact on their educational prospects. And economic as well. I mean, first of all, you're replacing a consumable. You're taking away what people are spending every day on kerosene and candles, and you're replacing it with a fixed asset that retains value over time. That has an enormous economic impact. And you're increasing the opportunity that people have to engage in household enterprises in the evening after the daily work is done. So a very, very simple, very basic approach to development that is value neutral does a lot to expand the quality of the choices that people have. And this is the heart of the project that Light Up the World does. So how do we do this? Well, this is a picture of a community in Papua New Guinea. As you can see, there's not much way of the roads. There's certainly no telephone lines or any of those sorts of things. So this is the primary area where we tend to concentrate, is try to get to those really far off, remote locations where other organizations or where national infrastructure really hasn't had the opportunity to try to reach. And in locations like that where you don't have access to the national infrastructure, you have to find other ways of providing energy. So what we do in the case of Papua New Guinea is obviously we're working with solar, being very close to the equator. They have very good solar resources, and that allows us to decentralize the national infrastructure, let's say, and provide resources really at the community level that service that community. It's a much more cost-effective and immediate way of doing things, especially in a country like Papua New Guinea, which is resource challenged. The idea that the national infrastructure will ever reach some of these villages is not realistic, certainly not in the next 20 to 30 years. The next thing we do is we combine that with high-efficiency solid-state lighting. Light Up the World was actually founded by a professor of engineering at the University of Calgary. We seem to have a common theme of university around this organization. And he was one of the first people in the world to recognize that the little diodes that you had powering your VCRs and DVD players and other things in the greens and the reds colored lights could actually be used if they could be turned into a white light, because they are so efficient, could be used combined with renewable energy in decentralized locations to actually provide a quality light for children to study by. Dr. Halliday had his eureka moment while he was trekking in Nepal, and he said, literally, my God, a child could study by this light. And that was the origins of the organization, and that's how we've evolved from there. A big component of what we do is not just about walking in there, handing a system, and then walking away. We work very, very closely with the local communities. An important part of what we do is local training and capacity building. So we work with, we identify local technicians in all the communities we work with. We do that in Papua New Guinea. Normally what we do is we partner with local church groups, community organizations, village elders, and we work with them to identify both technicians that we can train to install the systems, but also people who can sustain those systems over time and troubleshoot them. When you consider that in Papua New Guinea, it can take sometimes 1 week, 2 weeks of walking to reach some of these remote locations, it's very important that these people are able to act self-sufficiently. It's difficult for them to access the national infrastructure or supply lines and supply chains that would allow them to manage without self-sufficiency. So we work with those local technicians, we train them in their ability to manage with the systems, and we work with the community organizations to build their capacity to ensure the security of the systems, to ensure the management of the systems over time. It's an important part to ensure that the community is involved in what we're doing. And that leads us to the next point, which is community development. The systems that we're installing in Papua New Guinea are community facilities. Sometimes we work at the household level, but specifically in PNG, we're working at the community level. So what we're doing is we're installing these systems in the health centers. That means there needs to be community involvement and community ownership of these systems. And the reason why we're doing this is because it has a very, very high impact, especially on maternal mortality and child mortality and morbidity. Women, as you all know, don't necessarily deliver babies at predictable and convenient times of the day. In locations where there's no infrastructure and they're trying to deliver oftentimes in the night with no light, trying to deliver a child by kerosene or by candlelight can be very, very difficult. So again, we work with the communities. They identify the structure. They provide, they actually contribute to the project. They provide the labor to get the installations done. They help carry the equipment to their locations. And they take the ownership and the responsibility to ensure that those systems are maintained and looked after over time. One really nice example was there was actually a case where one of the systems, one of the solar panels had been stolen. And nobody knew who did this. And the community got together and they, amongst themselves, took the time to determine who was responsible and to ensure that the system was returned, because it was so important for the community as an entirety to have access to the system that they couldn't allow it for one person to spoil what was essentially a benefit for the community entirely. This is just a brief overview of what we've accomplished so far. Till date, since we started the program in 2008, we've reached 172 health centers. And moving forward, the plan is to do 160 health centers per year through to 2015. That's 460,000 people that have been reached with this project. When you consider that the population are spread out over vast distances, it's quite impressive. And eventually what we're trying to reach is about 2 million people in total. So this is a long-term project that we're working towards implementing. Obviously, we're very pleased to be working together with the Goddards on this. Nicola's story is, of course, quite inspirational and I think resonates a great deal with both in Canada and in PNG. I know that the Goddards got somewhat of a royal welcoming when they returned to PNG a few years ago to launch the inauguration of this project. And we're certainly hoping that over the coming years that it will continue to be as successful as it has been so far. And a big part of that is the contribution and support of people like yourselves who come together and recognize that this is a worthwhile project and something that needs to be supported. That's it. Very, very brief. Your food is on the table and I don't want it to get cold, so I will sum up right there. At the end of the day, what we would like to say is that development is really about improving the quality of people's choices. And we think that this is a very, very tangible and straightforward way of doing that. And we certainly appreciate that you've all come here tonight to support this worthwhile project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. You know, the relationship with the University of Calgary is even more intense because the current president is a graduate of Charlottetown Rural across the street here. So the bridge goes way back. And I hope you enjoy your entree, and we'll see you at the end of that.